What's up, guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about self-sabotage in relationships. And you voted for this topic, so let me give you some insights. I am a personal development junkie, and I always made a point to understand myself better, so not only I can improve the way I think about things, but I can actually change my life. And when it came to relationships, I did the same things, the same mistakes over and over again. And so I said, this is enough. I really have to dig deeper here. I have to understand what's going on and develop some rules that I can stick to that'll make the biggest difference. And I have. So this is what we're gonna talk about today. These are the rules I personally live by, and I also teach my clients, and they will make a huge difference in your life. You'll stop sabotaging yourself on a big scale when it comes to relationships. So the small things will take care of themselves. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to know more about creating an epic life on your terms, then check out the webinar. The link is in the description. And if you want to work with me privately and tackle the biggest topics in your life, the things you want to improve in most, then also check out the link in the description on one-on-one coaching. I really am there to help you. So let's start with rule number 1, which is never assume. You know this, but we don't live by it. And I've really made it a point that I just stop assuming anything because I don't know anything. I always think like I knew. Like I was the person, when I met somebody, I thought I knew exactly what they're thinking, who they are, that they're the perfect match for me, that I know exactly all the potential that they have, but they're not showing yet. When in the end, I was only seeing the surface. And so is everybody of us. Everybody just sees the surface of another person. I can understand people quite well, and I can still tell you that I still assume too much. And every time I made it a point to stop assuming, to stop thinking that there's something that they haven't proven to me yet, I always made the right choice. Because if the person is the person you want them to be, they will show that to you. And until they do, they're just the sum of what they have shown to you so far. That does not mean that you have to assume the worst or not look into the future, but to know that they haven't proven themselves yet. They have not shown you yet that they're the person you would want them to be. And on top of everything, you're actually making it harder for the other person, because every time you assume something and they're not the person you want them to be, they disappoint you, you show it to them, and then a lot of problems come up. And we don't want this. So stop assuming. It's all about actually looking at the things that you've seen so far and then create a relationship based on that. You're not having a relationship with their potential. You're not having a relationship with what that person could be. You just have a relationship with what has happened so far. And if until this point all you've done is just talk twice, or if until this time you've been going out on 3 dates, then this is where you're at. This is what you know about the person. So do yourself a favor, be present, don't assume. Then we get to rule number 2, which is always say and demand what you want. The other person cannot give you what you're not asking for. Like, I see this all the time, and this is not just something you see in intimate relationships. You see this in child-parent dynamics. You see that in friendships. You even see that in work situations where you have the boss and the person who works for them. And there's this dynamic of, oh, I don't really want to ask for what I want, when the person working for you would want that more than anything, because they cannot give you what you want if you're not asking for it. So this is like so huge. And I was really ashamed of it, because if I actually started asking for what I want, that would mean that I'm not giving the other person the chance to figure it out by themselves. I'm not giving the other person the chance to give me what I want, which would prove to me that I deserve it. How often do we play this game? That we say, well, if they really liked me, they would buy me flowers. Or if they really liked me, they would compliment me on my latest speech. Whatever it is that you think they should give you. But the thing is this, they cannot know. And I can guarantee you what I need is completely different than what you need. And so is every single person. There's a reason why there are the 5 love languages. There's a reason why we're all so different. There's no way the other person can know what you want. And so often we say, well, I want them to think about like that this is not good for me. Everybody knows that it's good to actually like look out for the other person, or to make sure that they're comfortable and they're safe. No, it's not that evident. It's not evident like this for everybody, because they cannot know what you need. I need a different kind of security than another person. So really make it a point to say that out loud. What are you most afraid of? What are you most afraid of asking? What is it that you think, oh, the other person should know by themselves? This is great information that you can use on a personal development journey. This is not for them to figure out. If you believe you're not worth it to receive some kind of gift, then it's not because the other person doesn't give you a gift while you didn't ask for it. It's because you really don't think that you deserve a gift. Because if you believe that you deserve gifts, if you, for example, love receiving gifts, what are you gonna do? First off, you're gonna start giving yourself gifts. And second of all, you're gonna demand gifts. You're gonna say, I want a present for my birthday, I want a present for Christmas, and actually, I would like this kind of present. Make it a point and you'll see if the other person shows up. You will see if that person really does their best and wants to give you what you want. And then you can figure out, is that person even somebody who can give me what I want and who wants to give me what I want? But until you ask for it, and this is not just about gifts, these can also be like mundane things that happen every day that you want your partner to take care of. As long as you don't ask for it, you cannot expect your partner to do it. This is not a sign of, oh, he or she doesn't love me or he or she doesn't value me. No. You have to be the one who says what you want, who says what you need, and then to see if the other person is able and willing to give you what you want. Rule number 3, stop dating people's potential. Like, this is a big one, and I made this mistake so many times in my life. And not only was I dating people's potential, but I also showed up as the potential of me. So I kind of like made them feel like I could be that person, when in reality, this is not who I wanted to be. This is not the person I actually was. I just showed them this great version of me that I thought that I could just keep up with, when in the end it wasn't really who I was. And that's the same thing when it comes to the other person. You really have to start liking the person for who they are right now. And if you can't do that, then most of the time this is not a relationship that will work out. So often I've been in a situation where I actually wanted to date the other person's potential, that person wanted to date my potential, and in the end we were like next to each other and trying to get something from the other person we're just not able to give each other. That is so important. But this is so scary, and you know why? Because the reason why you're looking for that person's potential is because you also feel, I can't be loved or liked or valued for who I am. I can only be valued, loved, and appreciated for my potential, for what that person could see in me. But that is actually the thing that's gonna change everything. The moment you say, I have to stop looking for what that person could be, but to actually look at who they are right now. How are they living their life right now? How are they showing up for me, for their friends, for life? How are they doing it right now? And then to look at yourself, how you're showing up right now, and to be okay with that. You have to love the person that you are right now with all the flaws, all the things that you think you should have been able to accomplish so far and you haven't. That version of yourself, that current version of yourself, you have to love that person, like that person, because then you can actually start liking the other person for who they are at this moment as well. Otherwise, we're just projecting what we could do, what we could have onto the other person. And we think all I have to do is just wait and they're gonna give me what I want. This is not how this whole thing works. This will always lead to chaos. You have to be the one who gives yourself what you want. You have to be the one who loves yourself for who you are right now, so you can actually go towards the things that will bring you happiness. And then you start actually having a real world, real life relationship, and not some fairy tale in your head, which is just creating a codependent relationship that is not doing you any good. So really make it practical. What does that person do right now? How are they living their life right now? Are they actually doing steps towards becoming a person that you want to have by your side in a year? And what are you doing to become a better partner as well? Stop dating potential. This actually goes for rule number 4, which is to look for life meaning in a partnership. Like, I've done this. I know so many people who do this, who really believe the most important thing in my life is my relationship. And if you say that to people, they will look at you weirdly. They will say, how can you say that? Of course, love is the most important thing. I'm not saying love isn't the most important thing, but I've been in a situation where I really felt this relationship is my solution. This relationship will give my life meaning, because there I can show up, I can be there for that person. We actually find some kind of meaning because we're together. What does that mean? That means that if that person wouldn't exist in your life, you wouldn't have meaning. Because if you're really honest with yourself, that is what you're saying. And every time you do this, you're not really showing up completely. Like, I love how Sharon Lester says it. She says, you're not 50-50 of a relationship. You're 2 times 100. You have to show up as your complete self. And of course, we can't always do that, but we can work on that. And I don't want to have a relationship which is the fulfillment of my dreams, because it never will be. This is all an illusion, and I know this firsthand. Actually, that is the reason why all of my life changed, why I decided that I have to do something that actually helps me self-actualize, because I always projected this. I always felt I'm gonna save the other person, or the other person is gonna save me. We together, that is the only thing that really makes sense. Do you see how much pressure you put on that relationship? I mean, if it would work, no problem. I would say go for it, but the truth is it won't, because every person is their individual being. And as long as you project all your dreams and your hopes onto the other person, that person cannot be who they're meant to be. And they cannot actually show up as the person you would want them to be, because nobody can take care of this but you. All the things you want in your life, there's not one person who can do this for you. They can actually help you become this person. They can help you and assist you in you showing up the best way for yourself. You're standing next to each other and you're looking towards the same direction, but it can never be that you look towards each other and expect the other person to fulfill you, because that would mean that the person has what it takes to be your ideal match. But how can they? There's no way somebody can see your world through your eyes. Only you can do that. And the more you make sure that you are actually doing the things that give you fulfillment for yourself, by yourself, the better you can show up in the relationship, because then you really value the person for who they really are, and not for what you project on them, what you expect of them. And you'll see how a lot of the pressure goes away from the relationship, and you're thankful for who that person really is and for what that relationship really gives you, which is companionship, trust, encouragement, and all other things that are so important, but they're not the meaning to your life. Rule number 5, stop holding yourself back and walking on eggshells. Like, if you feel that there's a part of you that you're holding back, that you keep your light small in any kind of capacity because it would trigger your partner, it would hurt your partner, it would actually show your partner that their life is not that great, because the moment you actually show up for yourself, you're showing up as a mirror for them. And that way they would just realize how much they've been missing out on life, how much their life actually isn't what they would hope it to be, or it will actually make them feel like they're wasting their life because you are not wasting yours anymore. This is very hard. Like, if you're in a relationship like this, and I've been in relationships like this, and I've seen relationships like this over and over again in real life, I know how hard it is to actually change that dynamic, because you know that this is gonna cause the other person pain. You know that something is gonna trigger them, and you don't wanna be the one hurting them. But it all comes back to all the points we said before. You shouldn't find the meaning in life by actually protecting them. You shouldn't have to walk on eggshells. If you have to do this, you're really not showing up as the best version of yourself. And you never know what's gonna happen. Of course, if you show up more as yourself, one thing will for sure change, always. And that is the dynamic between you two. It might be that that person is all okay with you showing up as a better version of yourself, as a more authentic version, because that's the only way you can become a better person, as in being more authentic towards yourself, being more in alignment with who you really are and what you're capable of giving. I'm not saying don't make compromises. I'm not saying like really just look out for yourself. But if you have to walk on eggshells, it really means that you're sacrificing too much. And most of the time, you're sacrificing your integrity. If you're hiding your light, if you're hiding your passion, just not to make the other person feel bad, this is gonna end badly, because you're not creating abundance. You're not creating a life that actually helps each other to grow. You're keeping them small and you're keeping yourself small. Rule number 6, don't ever stay in a relationship out of loyalty. So loyalty is a great thing. I'm not denying it. I wanna have loyal friends. I wanna have a loyal partner, and I wanna show up as a loyal person myself. But if you really stay in a relationship because you've put so much into it, because you invested so much into it, because they have invested so much into it, and now you feel like it would just be wrong of me to leave, then this is probably not the right reason to stay in that relationship. I mean, just think about it. Are you really being loving towards the other person if you're really staying with them just to be loyal? If you feel like your life is so much bigger than this relationship, and there's so much you get to experience and do, and you're actually holding yourself back because the way you would want to show up to the world, that relationship couldn't sustain. You being the best version you can be, you already know this relationship couldn't handle it. But trust me, try it out first. It does not mean that you will lose that relationship if you really show up as the best version of yourself, but you have to really make that point. You have to tell yourself the rule, and this is something I really live by, that if it comes down to it, am I gonna show up as the best version of myself, or am I gonna save this relationship? Then I'm always gonna choose myself first. Because if I don't make sure that I give myself the oxygen mask first, I cannot do anything for anybody else. Your energy will vanish if you don't make sure that you're doing good. And you never know, as I said, you might show up as the best version of yourself, and the new dynamic you have with that partner will be something amazing. But you cannot really say, I'm not gonna go for it. I'm not gonna have those demands of a better life. And if they can't pull themselves up, then I'm gonna stay there. I'm gonna stay down here with them. That will not help anybody. It will not help them to actually stand up on their own, because you have to understand you can never save another person, ever. You can be there, you can support them, but that person, if they're pulling themselves down, no matter what you do, they will not pull themselves up. Because the only person who can do the majority of the work is that person themselves. You cannot save them. So stop staying in relationships just out of loyalty, because you feel guilty, because they've done so much for you. Well, then really try to be a good friend, but not at the expense of your own well-being, because that will not only destroy your sanity, it will actually make the relationship more and more passive-aggressive, because you're staying there not because you want to, not because it gives you fulfillment, but just because you feel you have to. And nobody wants to be in a relationship like that. Not you, and the other person doesn't deserve that either. And then we get to rule number 7, which actually goes hand in hand with number 6, which is don't carry more than 50% of the relationship's weight. That is something I learned the hard way, because I was always carrying more than 50% in any relationship. And sometimes you have even relationship, let's say a friendship, where one person thinks, oh, I'm carrying more than 50%, and the other person thinks they're carrying more than 50%, because they're both looking at it from a different angle. And in the end, it's always a codependent relationship if you feel like you're giving more than the other person. It should never be like this, because this is just a sign that you're not willing to look at your own life. Why do you have to make sure that you carry more for that person than they're carrying for you? Why is that a necessity? Is it because you believe that you showing up and just giving as much as the other person is giving, that wouldn't be good enough for you to be loved or appreciated or valued? I know I've been there, but this is a great sign for you to understand that something has to change. If you're in a position where you feel, if I'm just giving as much as the other person is giving, this relationship will fail, then this relationship is not helping you to become the person you want to be. If you think like, oh, that person can't give more than what you're giving, then maybe it's time that you give less. There's no reason to have a relationship which is based on a partnership where you're giving more than the other person. That person is not your social case. That person is not your way of giving back to society. You want to do that, then do it in a way where it really makes sense, where people appreciate it, where people actually want and need your help. But in a relationship, you need a partner. You need somebody who's there for you and who gives you what you're lacking, and you're giving them what they're lacking, and you actually help each other to become the best version of yourselves. But if you give more than 50%, then there is a bigger issue there. Maybe it is because that person really needs all that attention, and you feel like, oh, if I actually just focus on them, then I don't have to focus on myself. Or you feel like, as I said, you just don't deserve to be loved, to be appreciated, to be valued if you just show up and you give as much as other people are giving. So you believe your partner deserves all your attention, all your love by them just showing up, let's say 30% of the entire relationship. But you feel like your 70% aren't even good enough. If you're in a situation like this, it's really time to change something. And see, all of those rules, I just made it a point to stick to them. I said from now on, I'm not gonna make any exceptions to those rules. And you know what happened? A lot of relationships really didn't even start going, things that I would have been interested in before, but now I already knew, oh, we're not off to a good start. Or when I was in a relationship or a friendship that actually had those dynamics, I knew I need to change this. And if it means that relationship falls apart, then I'm willing to take that risk. I actually believe the person can do the change, they can do, because now I say and demand what I need in this relationship. And I believe they can show up and do this for me because I need it, and it does not mean that they will actually have to give up anything. They just have to make sure that they give more to themselves, have more energy, so they can also be a partner that is helpful to you. But that can only happen if you demand it, if you show up for it, and if you don't make any exceptions. So these are the 7 rules that really changed my life. I do not sabotage myself in relationships anymore, and I'm really, really thankful I stick to them and I found them. So let me know in the comments what self-sabotaging behavior you want to change in your life. If you want to have more insights on how to create epic relationships in your life, then definitely check out the Epic Life webinar, because there we talk about this topic as well. And if you want to talk to me and really get the help you need in order to create better relationships in your life, then check out my link on 101 Coaching. And if you want to have a quick fix now, watch my video on the 3 red flags when you're compromising too much in relationships. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.